Senator, did you see your colleague Hillary Clinton last night with Bill O'Reilly?
I watched a good part of it, yes.
And what did you think of her performance?
Well, I think she did well. I think that Bill O'Reilly is a tough and very fair interrogator, and I think she handled it herself well. I think, obviously, I have disagreement with some of her views, but I think she handled herself well.
So, Senator, who does John McCain want to go up against in the fall? Because there's a new poll out that says that you will beat Barack Obama, but Hillary Clinton would beat you.
Well, you notice that polls are really in margin of error. I'm frankly pleased with where we are at this particular point in the campaign. As you know, the party ID is our party is not doing nearly as well as we'd hoped to, and one of my jobs is to energize our party, which I'm going to do. But it's margin of error, and you know, really, in a little straight talk, a lot of Americans don't really start focusing on the campaign until after we have our conventions, and so a lot of this is perhaps not quite as valid as we might think, because a lot of Americans are going to say, look, I'm going to watch the conventions, I'm going to watch the campaigns, and then make a decision. But I'm glad to be, frankly, where we are today.
Hey, Senator, do you feel sorry for Senator Obama over the Jeremiah Wright flap?
No, I think we all face challenges when we are in political campaigns, and running for president isn't beanbag, and I think he has to address the issue with the American people. I don't have any further comment on his handling of it, but right. I think he has to have the discussion with the American people, and he said that it's a valid political issue, so I'm sure that he will do that. But
will you use it, Senator, then? Because if it is a valid political issue, I think he called it legitimate, a legitimate political issue, will you use it in the fall against him if he's the nominee?
No, the American people will make that decision, and he'll have that discussion with them. I've said I don't think that he shares Reverend Wright's views, but you know, like most Americans, I think Reverend Wright's views are really incredibly outrageous.
Crazy, yeah. Well, what about this? Last week you asked the party down in North Carolina that was running a gubernatorial ad that featured some of Reverend Wright. You asked them to take that down. Now Barack Obama says, look, it is a legitimate political issue. Do you think they should run that ad?
I wish they wouldn't, but I'm not going to referee. I'm just going to run my own campaign. I'm not going to referee on what's valid and what isn't. I notice that ads are being run against me, which totally mischaracterized the statement about how long we're going to be in Iraq. So I've made my views known, but we're just going to run my own campaign.
Well, you're talking about the MoveOn.org ad. I mean, this is basically, they're commenting on your 100-year statement. What you meant was that you were going to have a presence potentially there, not fighting for 100 years. But is this an example, Senator, of how we've come now to political campaigns where every single word that you say has meaning? And you are the straight talker. So how tough, is that?
Very dangerous for me.
Yeah, because you said something about the economy, too, and that's also probably potentially going to be used against you.
You know, it's interesting the way the Democratic National Committee and the others are totally falsifying, obviously, my statement there and my concerns about the economy. But look, we're going to get our message out. We're going to raise money. We're going to go out there and run a hard campaign. I'm happy where we are. Sure. I rely to a large degree on the good sense of the American people to reject that kind of campaigning. But I'm not refereeing anymore. I'm going on with our campaign. It'll be a respectful campaign, and I look forward to it whenever the Democrats decide on their nominee.
Well, Senator, you've been running for president for over a year, and you have taken
forever.
Almost as long as he's been driving, according to Cindy.
Yeah, and he's a really good driver, we hear. You have taken many, many tough questions from many people in many town halls, but I know I personally watched Hardball a couple of weeks ago where a kid at Villanova asked you a question that absolutely stumped you. Here's a little snippet of that.
He did. And I know who that young man was.
Hi, Senator McCain. My name is Peter Doocy. I'm a junior here. And I'm sure that you saw one of your Democratic opponents, Hillary Clinton, recently drinking whiskey shots with some potential voters. Now, I was wondering if you think that she's finally resorted to hitting the sauce just because of some unfavorable polling. And I was also wondering if you would care to join me for a shot after this.
Have you ever had a tougher question?
Never, and I know who that young man is, and he's under surveillance. Tell him we're watching every move, and we have the tapes.
Yeah, but did you go for a shot with him, Senator?
Villanova is a wonderful institution, and I was pleased at the reception there. And yes, I had a couple of questions that, frankly, from the students, not from Chris Matthews, that left me. If the word isn't speechless, it certainly was without a meaningful response, let's say.
Yeah. Senator, we'd like to continue our conversation in a couple of minutes. You got anywhere to go? Can you just sit there in Cleveland for 2 more minutes?
Sure.
Thank you very much. More with a shot of tang with John McCain straight ahead. Tonight with Bill O'Reilly. She's going to be back on the Factor tonight. Still with us right now from Cleveland is presidential candidate Senator John McCain. Senator, in the New York Times today, it talks about how your health care plan, it explains that for some high-income Americans under your health care plan, their taxes could go up. Same thing for people with expensive health care benefits. Could you explain that?
Well, look, every American's going to have a family is going to have a $5,000 tax deductible credit, and they can go then across state lines wherever they want to get the health insurance that they want. Right now, if it's employer provided, then they have no choices. They take that or not. So now we're giving them the opportunity to shop around and to decide how they want to spend that $5,000 refundable tax credit. There's really a hidden tax right now of the uninsured who we are picking up the tab for whenever they have health care expenses. So it's just not the case, and I can see how someone would be distortive of our proposal to say that, but it's not going to increase taxes. In fact, it's going to lower costs, and that's the key to it. It's going to bring health care costs under control rather than subsidize it by the federal government and the taxpayers, as Senator Clinton just pointed out with her plan. And Americans will have an availability and affordability of health care in America, and that's our job. And it's not a government takeover or mandate, as was tried back in 1993 by the Clinton administration, led by Senator Clinton at that time.
Hey, Senator, before you go, gasoline prices are going through the roof. You've suggested, along with Senator Clinton, a moratorium on the federal tax on gasoline for the summer. What can you do in the long run? Is 4 years as president even enough time to change our appetites about oil?
We got to do a lot of things. But first of all, Judge, I'm sure you noticed that when we propose this little break for Americans, particularly, as you know, low-income Americans drive further and generally drive older cars, so their gasoline bill is higher. You'd have thought it was the end of Western civilization as we know it. Right. Oh, no, you can't do this. Think of all the bridges and pork barrel projects. Think of that bridge in Alaska to an island with 50 people on it. It's amazing to me. Just give the American people a little break for the summer. Maybe they can go a little further. Maybe they can buy a better meal. But look, in the long term, obviously, it's independence on foreign oil. It's got to be nuclear, wind, solar, tide, batteries that'll take a car 100 miles. We've got to become independent of foreign oil, and it's half our trade deficit. A lot of that money goes to countries that don't like us, and some of it ends up in the hands of terrorist organizations. So we can go from conservation of nuclear power, and I'm still disappointed in the extremist environmental organizations that still reject nuclear power. It's got to be part of any solution. And technology, innovation, and green technologies, and America can do this. And to say that we can't, I think flies in the face of America's history of facing and overcoming challenges, my friends. We can do it.
All right, there you go.
All right, and he called us friends today.
Thank
you, Senator John McCain. Always great to be with you.
Thank you for having me on.
You bet.